Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I think, a very important interview. I'm very excited. We have with us John Sakars, a famous musician, famous activist. John, I got to ask, how did you first get into veganism? Have you always been such an important, an animal rights activist, so interested in these animal issues?
Thank you for asking. No, I guess I think I've always cared about animals,
Hmm.
but it wasn't living the values that I had. So I was raised in a family where we were taught to eat animals and their secretions. And I
Jeez.
remember going to the school and the teacher telling us, milk is the perfect food, and you have to eat food from all the different four different food groups.
So you were fed
So I was raised,
the typical meat eater lies, basically. Yeah.
yeah. hmm
And
And
how did you
then,
break out of that?
yeah, well, I was born in 1970. So in 1998, I was talking with a coworker,
Hmm.
and she said, "Hey, John, did you know that eating animals has been linked to cancer?"
Wow.
And so I went to the library to look up that, and then in that section, I saw a book called Old MacDonald's Factory Farm, and that piqued my curiosity. So I sat in the library and read about all of the horrible things that are done to animals. I went to the library for health reasons,
Yeah.
but then
But
I, I, I
once you
went vegan for
saw,
the
uh-huh.
animals. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's interesting. So as far as your veganism, it's always been about the animals' welfare. And
Definitely. Yeah. And I learned that we have no rights to use animals for anything.
yeah, as an animal activist, what do you think the biggest hurdle we sort of face right now in reaching animal equality is? Is it the
Yeah.
legislators,
Well,
or what are your thoughts?
yeah, I see big changes. I've been vegan now, since 1998.
Hmm.
So I've seen big changes in the world. That the plant-based options in grocery stores and restaurants has just increased
Yeah,
very, very much. So times are changing for the better. And yeah, we just have to keep spreading the word, and our community is growing and just letting people know. Like, for instance, I'm in Niagara,
yeah.
and I've been protesting a lot against the horse-drawn carriages in Niagara on the
Oh,
Lake.
yeah, we have
And
those
so
in
we
Boston as
explain,
well, actually.
oh
It's
yeah.
awful.
So then people say, "Why are you here? Look, the horses, they're not being abused." But we explain it's the fact that they're getting used at all
Hmm.
that's the problem. And so we're educating people that we have no rights to use animals for anything. They're here with us, but not for us. So we just have to keep educating the
I
public.
got you. Can you tell me a little bit about what the animal holocaust is? I think I've heard you use that term a few times. I think it's a very apt term.
Well, thank you, but I don't use that
Oh,
anymore.
oh, I'm sorry.
I've learned that, yeah,
I,
yeah. Thank you. Well, on one hand, I might have a certain idea of the that comparison is apt, but then it's not me. I'm not of Jewish heritage,
I,
so
I got you.
it's not for me to say. If Jewish people want to make that comparison, by all means, they can do that. But it's not my place to make that comparison, or to compare it to
Hmm.
slavery. That would be up to black people to compare it to slavery. So I just say that people are using animals, and we have no rights to use them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Could you tell me a little bit more about speciesism and how maybe our listeners or viewers could learn how to stop belittling animals?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the easiest way for me to explain it is, well, people are aware of racism
Hmm.
and sexism, and
Homophobia.
so speciesism, yeah, homophobia. So speciesism is just like that, where it's how we look at other animals as being like beneath us, and so we use that as a right to, as a justification to use them.
Hmm.
We just have to realize that, yeah, we have no rights to use them, and that, like, I could look at a chicken and say, some people might say I'm more important than a chicken, but that chicken's life is just as important to that chicken as my life is to me.
Yeah,
So you have to look at that with all the animals, and this is their chance to be alive. The universe started billions of years ago, and they're alive. That's
yeah.
awesome, and they should get to spend all of their time doing whatever they want to do.
And enjoy it like we do. I agree. What
Mhm.
are your thoughts on personal pet ownership? I put ownership in quotes because you can't really own an animal. But is there any way that somebody
Definitely.
can ethically keep a pet, or is it just pets in general are a no go? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, we have no rights to use animals for anything, and that includes not using them for companionship.
Yeah,
But obviously, humans have created this issue where we have so many dogs and cats, for instance, in the world that need a home.
yeah.
So definitely, if people want to rescue an animal, I thank you for doing that. That's wonderful. But I so always, if you have some space in your home and you want to invite a dog or a
Yeah.
cat, adopt, don't shop. Don't pay for an animal, because by supporting breeders, you're just paying for the next animal to be bred into existence. So we can't support breeders. So by all means, rescue. But then if we stop breeding animals and they stop coming into existence, then no, we could eventually reach a point where we don't have anyone. All animals are free, and we've evolved way past domesticating animals.
Wow, I think that's a beautiful future to look forward to if we can really get there. You know, you're a very prolific songwriter and recording artist. What's your writing process like? I mean, how do you manage to release so many songs, you know, for such a long time? You know, how do you keep it up?
Yeah, I just love it. I get a high from creativity. You know, for instance, sometimes I'll be tired and I'll be about to go to bed, but all of a sudden a song idea will come to me, and then next thing you know, I'm wide awake and I'm writing till like 1 or 2 in the morning, and it really makes me feel alive.
So
So I love it.
You've managed to just keep that passion the whole time, you know, for your songwriting and everything. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always been about passion and about love. I do it to please myself. If I write a song and I like it, then I succeeded. If anyone else likes it, that's a bonus. But I remember I started playing drums in bands. I started playing the drums when I was 16, and then I played in bands. But even back when I was in high school, I remember instead of listening, sometimes I would be writing lyrics to songs in my notebook. So I've been into being creative my whole life.
What do you think inspires you to keep making music? You know, what is your muse? Is it the animals, or what is it?
Yeah, well, I consider myself a total liberationist, and so I want a world where all beings, both human and other than human, are happy, safe, and free, and we have all their needs met. And I hate oppression and exploitation, and so I hate the whole system. I think it's time for a system change because I rant against capitalism a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel that we have the resources to meet everyone's needs. We can provide food and shelter and water and healthcare, public transportation, internet for everyone. And so I think it's cruel to tell people, you know, you have to come up with so many hundreds or thousands of dollars every month. Like, it's stressful. Why don't we evolve past that? You know, I don't know what you want to call it socialism or something, but I like the idea of a shareocracy. So every time we share, we help to create a culture of sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very great point. Can I ask you a little bit about what your recording setup's like? What sort of microphone do you use? You know, do you use any mixing software?
Yeah, well, the main microphone, a friend gave it to me. It's a Shure microphone here.
It
that I've
sounds
used
good.
to record so many of my songs. Yeah, thank you. And then also I'll hold it in front of the camera.
Sure.
I really love this thing.
Oh, that looks
Like an interface.
Oh, that's
It's a UX2 Line 6. Am I holding it upside down? No, I'm holding
You got it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this interface plugs into my laptop, and then I can plug my microphone or my guitars into here. And then it comes with software called Gearbox that has all kinds of effects for different guitar sounds. And then I mix everything with a free program I downloaded called Audacity.
Yeah, I got Audacity. Yeah, I use it as well.
Yeah, and it's very easy to use. And then for video editing, I use a program called Sony Vegas.
Thanks. I got to ask, what sort of camera do you use? Do you just use your webcam or?
Oh, no, I have a camcorder. It's, yeah.
No, it's all right if you don't know
sorry,
the name off your top of your head, but
I think it's a Sony. I'd have to look at it again. I should know.
It's all right. You know, I got to ask you. You've done a lot of these sort of like seamless mixed media backgrounds in some of your videos. I'm thinking of songs like "All You've Ever Known" or "Looking Through the Window." So you hand draw a lot of these backgrounds. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's another big passion of mine is art. So yeah, I've done a lot of paintings for people. I've been doing a lot lately. And sending them just like on small canvas boards, acrylic with acrylic paint. So yeah, I love doing artwork, and sometimes I'll do artwork and it'll be the backgrounds in a lot of my videos. And I have a green screen, which is lots of fun. Yeah, so filming in front of the green screen, then I can chroma key out the color green, and on the track underneath, I can put any kind of a background and just put me in the scenario. So yeah, it's lots of fun.
Yeah. This next question, I think we touched on a little bit earlier. So you started playing drums when you were 16, right? When you first started, how long did it take you to start to, because now you're basically a one-man orchestra. I mean, you play drums, guitar, bass, keyboard. How long did it take you to expand into all these different instruments?
Yeah, well, I don't really consider myself very good at anything other than drums. I think I'm pretty okay at drums. I used to play drums in bands for years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sometimes the band members, we would all rent a house together,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be our jam house, and we'd have gigs. And so I remember one time I was living with guitar players and having guitars around all the time. One time, a guitar player friend, he sold me one of his guitars, and then he taught me some basic bar chords, and then I learned from books. Back in the old days, the first band I had got a book from Nirvana
Yeah.
about some of their songs. So that was the first influence. Like was learning some easy Nirvana songs, and then I learned about drop D tuning, where you can tune the E string down to a D, and then you can even play with one finger. You can make really awesome sounding. So a lot of my guitar stuff is very simple on the guitar. And then
You make it look. I mean, you make it simple, but you make it look so great. I think.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Uh,
And also from watching YouTube videos, learn different tricks.
that makes sense.
And another guitar player friend taught me the pentatonic scale, which was the main one I use. And yeah.
I gotcha. So you talked a little bit about Nirvana. Were there any other musicians that inspired you? You think influenced you in your sort of creative journey?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Well, another band I like from that era is Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
They're an influence, and yeah, I kind of feel like I love music by women and non-binary people and black people too. But just for growing up in the era, I'm 51 years old now, and back then I would listen to a lot of the songs that my friends listened to. So it was a lot of music made by white men, and I like it.
Yeah.
I think the music you listen to as a teenager is probably always going to be special to you. But now I love to listen to any kind of music. If it's I really appreciate it when it's from the heart, though. If it's just if someone's just trying to write a hit song to make money and they're not really feeling it,
Well, you can tell.
and it's not about anything important. Yeah, I think what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So anything I've written about, I'm
Right from the heart.
passionate about it. It all comes from passion.
Good to know. I really love your song "Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy." What inspired you to create such an amazing anti-ageism anthem? Do you have kids yourself, or are you just passionate about stopping misinformation?
Yeah, thank you. No, I don't have any children myself. I have nieces and nephews, and I just thinking about a lot, like all the lies we tell people, and some lies they may seem like harmless lies, but I've talked with friends about this, and they said they didn't like when they were taught to believe, in Santa Claus, for instance,
Yeah.
and then when they were older and they realized that their parents had lied to them about this, that it hurt them, and they didn't like that. And so a while back, I read a book by Sam Harris called Lying, and his argument was we shouldn't lie. But I realized he's speaking from a very privileged perspective,
Yeah.
being a white cisgender, able-bodied, or wealthy man.
Well, sure.
So a lot of people, more marginalized people, with the cops and the government and all
Well,
that.
sometimes they're
we're
backed into
putting
a
them-
corner where they have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm not going to say nobody should ever lie, but some lies, like telling children about Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny, that's not necessary.
Yeah, what's the point of it? I agree with you. You're a very outspoken critic of capitalism. In what ways do you think that capitalism has failed, the Western world, and in fact the whole world?
Thank you. Oh, in so many different ways.
course.
For instance, planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
Stuff isn't made to be the best that it can be. It's made to wear out and to break, and so you have to replace it. And also, just a waste of human resources too. Like for instance, we have companies competing against each other, and they'll withhold information from each other. We can make better products if everybody worked together. Because I put all their minds together, we'll make better stuff. And also, I just find it sad that we only have a limited amount of time on the planet, and I feel bad, for instance, for cashiers,
Sure.
spending their lives just standing in one place collecting all this money, which really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and
such a waste of time.
Did-
I don't like wasting people's time.
that since capitalism has clearly failed us, what sort of alternative system can you save us? So you talked a little bit earlier about shareocracy. Could you explain that a little more about what your idea for a shareocracy would be? Because I think it's very feasible.
Thank you. But one more thing I just want to say about waste
sure,
too
sure,
is I've done a lot of dumpster diving with friends, and it's shocking the amount of food that gets thrown into dumpsters behind grocery stores, and it's perfectly edible food. Sometimes it's at their expiry date, but it's still good.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see more about a shareocracy. Well, people shared with me big time because the last 4 jobs I've worked at, I was a hotel room attendant.
Yeah.
in Niagara Falls. And then in 2014, I just wanted to take a break from that. And so I had a bit of savings and I wanted to couch surf for a little while. Then I ended up doing that for like 6 years straight, couch surfing all the time. And I got a break from having to pay rents and bills. I stayed with friends and I tried to help out wherever I could. So I had so many people share with me. And I just want that on a global scale now where we all share all the resources. And I,
So that
2 years in a row
experience,
before that.
oh, sorry. I was going to say that experience, do you think of couch surfing sort of informed you the power of sharing? Is that sort of what you think?
Yeah, the power of sharing and the awfulness of paying rent because I didn't expect to be able to couch surf for 6 years and
Yeah,
not have a job, but it showed me how much rent really affects our lives. Where when you have to come up with hundreds or thousands of dollars every month, that drains your bank account big
sure.
time. So I saved so much money just by not having to pay rent.
Oh, wow.
And so I, 2 years in a row, a friend of mine and we hitchhiked to California and back for the Animal Liberation Conference, and we had so many people. They don't know us.
Yeah.
We could have been maybe like wanted to kill them or
Who
something.
knows?
So
Yeah.
yeah, they risk their lives to help people in need. So if people are willing to risk their lives to help people in need, then I think that everyone would be in a shareocracy. I don't think humans are inherently lazy.
Yeah.
If they get to spend their days doing what they want and helping their fellow community members, people will want to work.
Sure.
If
If it's fulfilling.
yeah, if it's fulfilling. And I'm in favor of a universal basic income as a stepping stone
Yeah.
towards a moneyless world. Because right now people are so stressed out and they need time to rest and recuperate from capitalism.
Yeah, and I think people,
They gotta
I was going to say, I think a lot of people who, work 12 hours a day or something, they don't have time to think about how much capitalism affects them even. Where I agree with you. And I think that's one of the few things that have come from COVID that may be positive, is some people have had more time at home to realize why was I even at work at the first place?
Definitely, yeah. And I don't have a car. I ride my bicycle everywhere. So if we, had more people, allowed them to just stay home if they want, and we'd have fewer cars on the road, it'd be safer for cyclists and better for the environment, less commuting going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are we're going to transition back to a veganism question here. What are your thoughts on some vegans choosing to supplement their protein with insects? Do you think this is vegan, or what do you think there?
I saw something about that where someone was saying that he for his B12 he was eating ants. And yeah, I think it's ridiculous. And I think that it seems like for instance, with some, from what I'm seeing anyway, with some raw vegans, for instance, and just like they're striving for personal purity so much, and they've got it in their head that GMOs are bad and that, taking supplements is bad. But I'm a pro-science person. I'm double vaccinated, and
I'm glad to
I
hear
take
it.
my vitamin B12. I take a B12 supplement, and I love science. And so yeah, like we don't have a right to use. It's not necessary to use, for instance, ants for B12. And so just I'm in favor of taking a supplement.
Yeah, talking about supplements, could you tell us a little bit about sort of what your workout routine, sort of what your diet is, if it's not too personal of a question?
Not at all. Yeah, well, for supplements, I just take B12, and then in the wintertime, I'll take vitamin D. So presently, those are the only supplements I'm taking. And then for food, I try to have whole foods more. So I have some processed foods
Sure.
once in a while for a treat. But yeah, fruits, veggies, beans, grains, nuts, and seeds. And I love making soup and smoothies. And I have whole grain bread with like maybe, say, peanut butter and banana sliced on it, and pasta. A lot of meals are already
Yeah.
vegan. Like people think, oh, what do vegans eat? Well, a lot of the food you probably already eat. Like as a kid, a lot of us had peanut butter and jam sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. That's vegan. Or spaghetti with pasta sauce. That's vegan.
Yeah, just take away the butter, and there's a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah.
Now, you talk a little bit about shakes and juices. What's a good pre-workout green juice that somebody could make? Maybe some kale. Do you have any go-to? What sort of fruits and veg do you like to put into your shakes?
Yeah. I have smoothies. I prefer. I don't drink juice very much because then you're taking away the fiber, and fiber is really important.
That's
So
true.
for whole foods, I like the fiber. So yeah, I'll use a blender, and a blender is a lot easier to clean than a juicer too. So yeah, for greens, kale is a favorite, or maybe some spinach, some romaine lettuce sometimes. And then I often frozen bananas. I'll let them wait until they get really ripe and then freeze them. and then put them in smoothies, and then some other fruit, maybe some frozen
Yeah.
berries or apples or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty easy.
Got it. For the next part, I was wondering if we could maybe break down some of your lyrics from some of your songs, and you could give us a little bit of a background for them, maybe.
Yeah.
So this is from the song "Things Were Constantly Changing." It goes, "When I was a child, I didn't like to get spanked. Now I like to get spanked. When I was a child, I didn't like vegetables. Now I like vegetables." Which, what do you think caused this change in you? Let's start with the vegetable one, and then maybe the spanking one if you want to get into it, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, as far as vegetables, yeah, I think it's probably pretty common. It seems with me, like a lot of people didn't they eat better as they get older, and they realize how fast life is going by. And like for me anyway, I don't want to die. I like life a lot, so I know if I eat really unhealthy foods a lot of fried foods and that, I'm not going to live as long as if I eat better foods. And so that's my motivation. And also, I just learned to love, like one of my songs is "Get Your Brock On."
Yeah.
And I had steamed broccoli yesterday and today, 2 days in a row. I got my brock on, and let's see, yeah, and well, for instance, like with fruit, I love all fruit, and then with veggies, some veggies I love, but I love them in different ways. Like to just eat raw cauliflower, for instance, I'm not such a huge fan, but if I steam it and maybe like or have a blended soup. Like one soup I really like is steamed cauliflower and potatoes, and then you cook them and then you blend them into like a blended soup, and then it tastes really delicious. So
Interesting.
I think I like all veggies except some of them I just like a certain way. Like when I was a kid, we had steamed spinach, and I didn't like spinach cooked so much. But now raw spinach, like in a salad or a smoothie, I love it.
Sure.
So yeah, with different veggies, you might not like them a certain way, but you might like them another way.
Well, that's interesting. The next one is from your song "Have You Seen Squid Game?" You say,
I just want to say about the spanking.
Oh, sorry.
quick.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if you wanted to touch it. Go ahead. Tell us.
Oh, sure. That was a joke. One time I was in Las Vegas making a couple of videos with a friend, Maria,
Uh-huh.
and she had this like
Oh,
room in
yeah,
her house with
a
something
flogger
to
and
get tied
everything.
up.
Yeah, I've seen the video.
Yeah, and she flogged me. And some of the videos that YouTube took down
Yeah.
are on Vimeo. So you have like John Sakars Vimeo.
Oh,
then you
good.
see some of the little more racy, raunchy videos that YouTube didn't
Yeah.
allow. So
Well, you certainly have fun
I just
with
put
your
that-
videos, I think.
thank you. Yeah, that was lots of fun. And I'm not necessarily a fan of spanking.
Sure.
But I just threw it in. I threw it in the song for fun.
Okay. I got you. I was curious about that. It's a good line, I
and then-
think. I think it really illustrates the whole thing very well.
Thank you. And then, what was your song about? Your next
Yeah,
question?
my next question is about the song "Have You Seen Squid Game?" Just the lyrics were "Circle, triangle, square. I am still not aware. For those pink suit guys are their victims too."
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit. I thought that when I heard that, I was like, "Wow," because that's really interesting. I mean, how did you realize that also the guards were also victims in this? I mean, how did? Because that's such a heady
Yeah.
concept,
Thank you. Well, we see one of them get shot right on the show, and I have empathy for police, for instance, like in our world. I feel like they're victims of the system too, and so like for instance, like you could look at any cop and know that they'd rather be doing something else. I think they'd rather go maybe camping or be out on the. If on a boat, I'd prefer if you're like paddling around and not bothering fishes and all that. But most people would rather be doing something else with their time than these jobs. And I
Sure.
feel like I look at cops as being an unnecessary job. Like strong communities make the whole system obsolete.
Yeah.
So if we build community and we create a shareocracy and we help get everyone's needs met, then I don't think we need any cops. So I look at cops as being victims too of the whole system. And so I totally see the guards in that movie as being like cops,
Yeah.
They're being oppressed too, just like the cops in our world
And
are.
what do you think that position of authority does to a person? And also having the mask too, the having no moral culpability. Do you think that it's that mask that almost corrupts them and can allow them to do these sort of awful things?
Yeah, good point. Like I know, for instance, when I made some of my videos and I put on a wig, it's like I'm like kind of like I'm someone else a little
Sure.
bit. Maybe I'm a little more bold. So yeah, you put on the uniform, and then people feel feel like a different person. I can imagine how that would happen, and they feel justified. Like, speak out against the death penalty a lot, and I was reading about former executioners and how they feel really bad about it now. But it's awful how, like, when authority figures tell you to do what you to do, tell you what to do,
Yeah.
and then you feel like kind of detached from your actions. Like, the only reason I pushed that button or jabbed them with the needle to give them the death penalty is because I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
So many atrocities are committed by people who are just doing their job.
That's such a great point. The next lyric breakdown I want to do is from your song "I'm Glad to Be Vaccinated," which I want to say I'm glad that you are vaccinated. I'm also max vaxxed as well. I'm pushing for that. Now you say in this song, "Eating animals causes epidemics. Have you heard? A virus can spread from a human to a human from a bird. A virus can spread from a human to another. Then one day." You're saying your final words to your mother. And I want to say, when I first heard that, that brought a tear to my eye. Because, but
Wow.
I think you did such an amazing job in the song with handling the pandemic, in such a very respectful way, I think. What, how do you think that meat eaters have worsened this pandemic? Because they really have. Could you explain to some people who don't understand how meat eating has been so awful for this?
Yeah, well, one way I think that is a good way to explain things is, okay, with the pandemic, the epidemic, we're taught to physically distance, stay at home and wash your hands and all of that. Well, look at all the factory farmed animals. They can't do any of these things. They're all crowded together,
Sure.
and it's a dirty atmosphere.
And none of them
So
are
you
wearing
can,
masks.
obviously, you can use your magic. Pardon?
I said none of the animals
They're
are
not
wearing
wearing
masks.
masks?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a little comical, but still, I mean, it's true that
Yes.
they're all bundled up together. So, and
So it's the perfect situation if you want to create pandemics and spread them, is like through factory farming. And so science has showed us that they can jump from one animal to another.
yeah. Do you think in a vegan society, if we really had made a fully vegan society, a pandemic like this could have been avoided?
Maybe but if it did, I hope so. But if we did still create a pandemic, we also have to change the system of capitalism.
That's true.
That's a problem too, the way we're living. Yeah,
Because that certainly also exacerbated the pandemic. I agree.
definitely. Can I just say one more point about that?
Sure.
Quick?
Go ahead.
Like, for instance, a lot of people were working at jobs that really weren't necessary. You're making this person, they'd rather stay home and wash their hands and stay away from other people, but you're making them go work at this unnecessary job like serving coffee or something like that. Like, people can stay home and make their own coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cruel how risking someone's life to have them go work at this unnecessary job so they can make profits for the businesses and so they can come home and pay their rent. So yeah, if we had that, maybe a universal basic income and allow it, then next time we'll be a lot more prepared for a pandemic because people could physically distance.
Yeah, that's funny. That was actually.
So, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, that's all right. You perfect. You actually answered my question before I asked it. I was actually going to ask you a little bit about the universal basic income. I wanted to know: are you a Andrew Yang supporter? Because I know he's the one who really was pushing for the universal basic income. Or what are your thoughts on Andrew Yang?
Yeah, well, I'm in Canada, and I'm not as up on U.S. politics as I should be.
Yeah, I
but
gotcha.
we do hear a lot about.
And
we
I
do hear a lot
apologize.
about that.
I'm
So I
sort of
know-
I have the issue. I'm often very U.S. centric in my head. I have trouble with that separation. It's a flaw of mine, so I apologize. But
Oh, no problem. Well, the whole world hears a lot about the U.S.,
Yeah.
so we're all kind of familiar with people like Andrew Yang. I'm guessing, but yeah, I appreciated that he talked about universal basic income. And some say, like, I don't know much about him other than he's in favor of UBI, but some people are in favor of UBI for different reasons. Like even capitalists are in favor of it, like as a way to keep the economy going and all of that.
But for you see it as a
I think-
transitional phase from UBI.
Yeah, a transitional phase in the world we are now to ultimately a moneyless world, because without money we'll all be rich. So I think of it as a transition. Then I just want a world where everyone has all their needs met. So we have different ideas on how to get there.
Interesting. We got one more track I wanted to go over here. It was a song. It's been a long time since I got laid, and I'm covering this because I saw you remixed it recently. Can I ask before I get into the lyrics, what made you want to remix that song?
Yeah, well, I like playing the drums a lot,
Hmm.
and so I have an inexpensive set of electronic drums right now that I'm having lots of fun with, and so I thought I'd go over some old songs and then I just add some drums and spice it up. And I've gotten a little better at recording music over the years, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to make more better sounding
You
versions of
wanted to
some of these
update it to
songs.
your current, quality level. That's sort of what it is.
Uh,
That makes sense. Now let's get into the lyrics here. It says, "I'm the only person who ever touches my crotch. It's been a long, long time since I got laid. When I wash my crotch, I only wash it for myself. It's been a long time since I got laid." Um, Now, if this isn't too personal question, is this still the case that it's been a long time for you, or it,
well, at the time, I like to be, honest with my songwriting, and
sure,
so at the time, it had been a long time, and I thought, hey, I should make because the song idea came to me. I thought I should write this song while it's still truthful,
sure,
so it was 100% truthful when I wrote it.
hmm,
And yeah, since I wrote that, I like now it's been a long time again. But in
sure.
between that song and now,
It,
yeah, there was
there was some.
someone I was
Oh,
with for a
I
while.
got you. And I got to ask. In this song, you talk a lot about the importance of being able to find your own self pleasure. Have you heard of Demi Lovato's new sex toy that they have released? Oh, maybe I could tell you a little bit about this. If Demi Lovato, the recording artist, has come out with a non-binary sex toy, and their whole thing about this is that it is like you were saying in your song that you should be able to take control of your own pleasure. So I just thought that it's something. It's a similar message. I think is very good to be pushing to people. Uh, Now, I want to ask, and this again, if this isn't too personal, about the haven't been late in a little while. Is this because you're very selective? I know in the past you've made songs about how you won't have sex with any meat eaters. Is that still the case?
Yeah. I don't feel much of a strong connection with people who like would do that to animals, and the idea of like, if I'm washing dishes and if I'm in a non-vegan household and I'm washing dishes and there's like a piece of flesh from animals in the sink, like I'll pick it out of the sink, but it kind of is really disgusting to
Yeah,
me just washing dishes and touching. So like kissing someone and knowing that they use their mouth to chew up flesh from tortured and murdered animals and they might have particles from that flesh stuck between their teeth. It's a big
yeah.
turnoff.
I'm
I
getting sick just thinking about it. When you describe it like that. But it's a good. No, it's a good point. Do you think that it's important for vegans to make that sort of a stand against meat eaters? To be like, to say, you really shouldn't eat meat, and if you're going to eat meat, you should just stay away from it. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I think we're all in different situations, and sometimes if some people are in a partnership where one of them went vegan and the other one didn't, and then like that's a lot to ask someone to like dump someone that they're in love with, So
Hmm.
we all got to do what's right for us, and if some people can kiss someone even though they shoot up animals, hey, good for you that you're able to do that, So
I gotcha.
I have heard of some people who were with someone, and it took them a while, but they were eventually able to get them to change their
Uh
ways.
huh.
So it is possible. I just haven't had any success with converting any like well, some of my family members are eating a little more plant-based.
Yeah,
There's no kissing
but
going
it's
on, but
of
just by
course.
talking with them.
But it's a hard battle. I know. I have some people who I've been trying to get to go vegan as well. It's just hard. I just had one more question. This is about one of your classic songs, "Don't Use Insults."
Yeah.
I was wondering, was there a lyric change to that song at all? Because I've listened to that song a while ago, and I have a memory of there being a line saying, "Don't be speciesist. You never use the name of an animal for an insult for a human." But then when I listen to the more recording, it says person. Has it always been person, or was it human? Do you know?
Oh yeah. I know. I've made a few different versions of that
Hmm. So
song,
it's a
and
version thing, huh?
yeah. Well, the first version was "Animals are innocent. Don't be speciesist. Never use the name of an animal as an insult for a
See,
human."
that's
But
what I
then,
remember. But then you changed it up. What made you change it from human to person? Because I think that's an interesting change there.
yeah, I changed it to I changed the chorus to. I'll just talk about the first part.
Sure, sure.
I made the first change I made was instead of "animals are innocent," I just said "respect every animal." I changed that because
Oh,
someone points it out, like because of the prison industrial complex, and we're in the age of mass incarceration. Like we've been conditioned to think that some humans are just guilty, but now I look at it like the whole system is the problem.
yeah,
So I really felt bad about saying, like, because when I said animals are innocent, people would take that to mean like, non-human animals are innocent, but humans are guilty.
uh-huh,
But I didn't want to do that. I don't want to perpetuate the good bad
yeah,
binary with humans. So I changed that first to respect every animal. Don't be speciesist. And then the other part I probably didn't really need to change, but I think I changed it because I said never use the name of an animal as an insult for a human. But then sometimes people would they would call other animals, they would like call a dog a pig or something like
yeah.
that. Like,
Oh,
so I just, yeah, so I changed it to like never use the name of an animal as an insult for anyone.
yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like how you're updating your songs because I think you keep everything so fresh. I think.
Thank you very much. And I think that songs can change over time. Like,
Hmm.
say even a big hit song everyone knows, say you wrote it like maybe even like 10, 20 years ago, but then you got an idea how to make it a little better. Why not make it better? We don't have to stick to the original
Sure.
way.
I mean, there's plenty of songs I can think of that could really use with an updating. Songs that were maybe written before we realized the gravity of certain phrases or ideas. So I think you're really ahead of the curve with this. Of updating your
Thank
music.
you. I want to say something too. Is
Hmm.
like I love writing these songs, and I do work hard on the lyrics, and then I upload them, and then I don't really think so much about wow, people are actually listening, and
Sure.
they're liking the lyrics. So the fact that you're telling me all of this, I really appreciate that very much.
But,
Like, thank you
well,
for reading the lyrics. And
we really appreciate you, John. I want to say, all the fans, because
thank you.
I've been a fan of yours for 4 or 5 years now. So I really thank you for all the good work, and thank you for the great interview. That's all the questions I had. But was there anything else you wanted to say to the people at home? What's the message you think they should take away from this interview? If somebody maybe is a meat eater listening to this?
Yeah. Well, think of foods that you like, and then think of a way that you can make that more compassionate choices that aren't going to involve hurting anyone. So, like, say you like pizza, well, maybe go try some vegan pizzas. There's so many different kinds, or you could make your own.
Hmm.
You could have, instead of cheese, you could use hummus or something, but there are lots of different kinds of vegan cheeses. So, yeah, by all means, I love everything I eat. Like I explain to people, I love all food. I love all food. I really do.
Yeah.
Some people might say, no, you don't, John. You don't love all food. And then my brother, Derek, he understands now. He said, John doesn't consider that other stuff food.
Sure, because
So
it's
yeah,
living.
it's not food to me.
Or
Yeah, right. It's like it's not food; it's violence.
yeah. But thank you.
So I do love all food.
But you love all food that's ethical, because the other stuff, you're right, it isn't food. It's an animal. It was alive. Well, thanks so much, John, for coming on here. We're gonna end the show, but thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.
Oh, thank you very much, everyone.